Ready to start?
Yep,
Okay.
you're good.
So my name's Scottie. Quick question: who in here likes breakfast food? Everybody thought so. So everybody loves breakfast. Me, it's my favorite meal of the day. A good breakfast can always get your morning starting off right, put you in a good mood before you get out, do whatever just a good start to the morning. But you don't always have time to sit down and cook a full breakfast. Today I'm going to give you a quick and easy recipe for breakfast casserole. Even just doing it for your first time, you can do it in under an hour. Once you get doing it, once you've done it a few times, it'll take you under 30 minutes. Today I'm going to I'm going to tell you the ingredients you'll need, the materials that you'll need and how to prep it, the cooking, the assembly, and also a few variations for people who don't necessarily like the traditional breakfast. So first off, I'll start with the ingredients. For this, you're going to need your meats, traditional meats. For breakfast, most people typically stick with sausage or bacon, but it can be changed. Different cultures use different proteins for their breakfast, but I'll get to that later in the presentation whenever I get into some variations. You'll need a can of biscuits. You'll need cheese, whatever you like. Some people like Colby Jack, pepper jack, traditional cheddar. It all depends on your preference. 4 eggs, half a cup of milk, and butter or baking spray. Materials you'll need. Next I'm going to cover your materials and how to prep. The materials you'll need, obviously you'll need an oven because you're going to be baking. You'll want to preheat your oven to 375. You'll need a casserole dish. Depends on how big you're cooking for, how many you're cooking for. A traditional, I think 3-inch casserole dish usually works for most people. You'll need a 10-inch skillet to cook your meats on the stove. And during the prep stage, if you want to go ahead and do something quick, you can cut your biscuits. Take your can of biscuits, bust it open, cut your biscuits. I usually do mine in 4s. It all just depends on, like I said, the casserole dish you're working with. So the next step we're going to be moving on to is cook time, everybody's favorite. So to cook, you're going to brown your meats. Usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes depending on how big of a serving you're cooking. While your meats are cooking, you can also take this time to combine your eggs and your milk. Make sure you whisk it, make sure it's a nice consistent mixture. Everything's nice and even. Once your meats are done and you've got your mixture made, you're going to take your pan and you're going to coat it with either baking spray or just a thin layer of butter, just to make sure it doesn't stick to the pan. Once you've got everything combined in the pan, your meat, your cheese, and your egg mixture, you're going to make sure everything's well mixed together. Me personally, I take this step. Once I've got everything mixed, I'll put another layer of cheese on top before it goes into the oven. Once it goes into the oven, 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how big the serving. And that's pretty much it. Next, I'm going to cover some variations. One thing I talked about earlier is the protein choice. Like I said, different cultures use different proteins. I know in Hispanic culture they use chorizo a lot. Some people like steak. You can really use any protein you want. It just depends, but just make sure that you cook your protein properly before it goes in. Also, another variation for people with kids that are always on the go that don't want to sit down. You can actually take this recipe, instead of using a casserole dish, you can use a muffin tin. Do the exact same thing you would, put them in muffins. put them in the compartments, place them in, and they're perfect little finger foods for the snacks. I know with my family and my kids, I personally like to make country gravy with this to use for dipping. My kids, they like pancake syrup. Like I said, this recipe is pretty flexible, and it's really short and simple. So to wrap things up, today I've covered this quick and easy breakfast casserole recipe. I've also covered the materials you'll need, the prep time, how to cook, and also some variations to meals for those who are a little bit bigger or just want to try something different. So I would hope the next time that you got that craving for some good breakfast foods, but don't really want to put in all the effort to cook a whole meal with all the fixings. This right here is something quick, easy, and simple, and you get all just as much satisfaction as full breakfast.